Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Spice Up Your Cloud Offerings as a Wasabi MSP Partner. I'm your host, Katie Bavoso from the Channel Company. Research shows the value of the cloud storage market is projected to reach more than $222 billion by 2027. That's more than 4 times the market value was in 2019. It's the perfect time now to offer cloud storage solutions and services to your customers and grow your business. But not all vendors will help you get the revenue results they say they will. Don't settle for lip service from your vendor partner. Wasabi has a fully baked plan to help you increase your customer opportunities and your bottom line. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. Joining me now to discuss this is David Boland, Senior Director of Partner Marketing at Wasabi Technologies. Welcome, David.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for having me.
David, it's great to have you. Let's get started with segment 1, a turning point for cloud storage. So let's first take the temperature of this market space. As I mentioned earlier, the cloud market is incredibly hot right now. Why are businesses turning to the cloud to store their critical data and assets?
Okay, I think that we've seen over the past 5 years, the cloud is becoming more of an option for customers or for MSPs who don't want to physically manage on-premise assets. You know, there's just a gigantic install base of older compute, older storage, older networking products out there that every day they become a little more obsolete, and people are wondering whether or not they should actually go out and replace them and buy them with replace them with new technology. And more, the answer is no. I'm not going to replace my old storage arrays or my old compute or my old network hardware. I'm going to use infrastructure as a service. And so the cloud has become an option for just about everybody that has anything to do with IT, from software as a service to infrastructure as a service to storage or compute. It's available for everybody, and MSPs specifically are jumping on board and offering their services through their customers through a cloud architecture.
So David, where do legacy object storage solutions fall short, and how does Wasabi Cloud Storage offer a better value for MSPs?
Let's look at it from 2 directions. The first direction is legacy on object storage on-prem. And as I mentioned earlier, every day on-prem assets are become obsolete, and people have to make a decision whether or not they want to replace them. One of the reasons why they're choosing not to replace them with additional on-prem hardware, in this case, is that they don't want to have to rack and stack, power and cool to nail up and run networking between the devices. You know, it is quite the process to move data off of an older array to put it onto a new array. It's time consuming, it costs a lot of money, and it becomes a pain in the neck. And so where they fall short is at that point in the technology refresh cycle where people decide, okay, am I going to buy new equipment, and am I going to migrate the data, my customer's data or my data, from the old equipment to the new equipment? How long is that going to take me? Do I have to go through another training cycle to learn the new software, learn the new hardware, possibly the new operating system? On-prem legacy devices tend to fall short in the ownership and management of them. That's where they fall short. Nothing wrong with object storage in itself. Hell, it's a fantastic solution. Object storage is great. It's just the ownership of it. And if you don't have to own it, if you can let somebody else do it, like a Wasabi or a cloud storage service offer, let them do it. So from an on-prem perspective, it falls short in just having to manage and support and service the existing hardware. Now, from a legacy cloud object storage service, there are some negatives to it as well from the legacy side. So if we look at AWS, which was the object storage was created around 2006, almost 15 years ago. And then shortly thereafter, we had Azure and GCP, and IBM came to market. Those object storage services really were not designed with MSPs in mind. As a matter of fact, about 10 years ago, people said, you know, the channel is being disenfranchised. Is there any room for the channel going forward in this cloud world? Because who would need the channel if you could just go to an AWS marketplace and buy your services from there. So there was a point in time when AWS, Azure, and Google were actively trying to disenfranchise the channel. They didn't need them. We've learned that that's actually not the case. The channel is far more important today than it was a long time ago. But however, they were designed with that in mind. And therefore, the pricing architecture, the partnership architecture, the features and functionalities that they offer to partners weren't designed with them in mind. They're an afterthought. And so therefore, some of the issues you have with your legacy cloud object storage services are hidden costs for egress, hidden costs for data retrieval, hidden costs for putting your data into the cloud, hidden costs for moving your data from one cloud device to another cloud device, on net transfer charges. So you as an MSP, you as a channel partner, never going to know what your monthly bill is going to be if you're using AWS, Azure, or Google. You might have an idea of what it could come in at, but you're going to be off a few percentage points because you'll never be able to predict what your egress costs are going to be, your data retrieval costs are going to be. And as an MSP who's earning those margins out there, if you have unpredictable costs, do you take the hit yourself because you didn't explain those to your customer because you didn't know them, or do you pass those costs on to your customer, who may look at you and say, you know what, I don't have a predictable cost from my MSP. I'm potentially going to have to shop around. So long story short, again, is that the cloud architectures, they're designed by AWS, Azure, Google, IBM, and folks like that, weren't designed for MSPs in mind. And there's a lot of hidden costs that make it very difficult for you as a channel partner to get your job done on a daily basis.
A lot that we're going to continue to break down from that answer as we go through the rest of the webinar. But thank you so much, David. And, I was talking about cloud growing, the adoption of it growing, but it's not the only trend growing. The risk of ransomware attacks and other cyber threats is also increasing. How is the growing threat landscape impacting the shift to the cloud? And what are the risks of turning to the public cloud? We have seen a giant rise in ransomware and cyber criminal activity in the past few years. It's obvious. I think that what we're finding now, and we're finding this in the case of Wasabi, is that the cloud storage architectures are more secure than your average on-prem storage architectures or your on-prem network. And they provide customers, MSPs, or end users an going to restore their data if they are attacked. Let me explain that one. So almost everybody is going to be a target for some kind of cyber attack. It could be anybody from the local hospital to an oil pipeline to a shipping yard. It could be anybody, and they're under attack. Now, if the way they get in varies, the bad guys get in usually through a phishing attack, phishing emails, or they steal credentials and they're able to log on to the network. That network then, if that is not partitioned from the cloud, that network is in jeopardy because all the data can be encrypted, held until the ransom is paid and you can get your decryption keys, or they give you your data back. Now, that's just the way it is. But now, if you are a MSP or end user, and you need to make sure you have a second copy of your data, or in the cases where you don't have a second copy or don't often need a second copy, it could be older archive data you have to keep for compliance reasons. You should put that into what we call immutable storage. And immutable storage is the storage feature of cloud object storage that prevents anybody from encrypting that data or deleting that data. It's there for a specific amount of time that you as the MSP or the channel partner decide is the retention date. So Katie gives me her data. She said, David, I've got to store this for 7 years for legal purposes. And therefore, I'm entrusting you with that. I, as a channel partner, as Katie's MSP, will take that data. I will put it in immutable storage, hopefully in the Wasabi Cloud Object Storage site with a 7-year lock on it. That data under immutable storage features is not, bad guys, even if they got into Katie's network and my network, they couldn't encrypt it, they couldn't delete it, they couldn't change it or alter it. Now, they can do whatever they want to the rest of the network. They can shut down servers, they can shut down the compute, but what they can't do is they can't change that data that you gave me to preserve and protect for 7 years. So therefore, that data sitting in the immutable object storage
is going to be the data that you use and I use to recover from a ransomware attack. In many cases, most cases, there's really little incentive to pay for that ransomware attack because we've got the data and we can restore it in an isolated recovery environment, and the bad guys don't get any money. Object storage, cloud storage may not prevent a ransomware attack, but it will certainly help you recover and keep you from having to pay the bad guys, for your data back.
Well, David, you've hinted at Wasabi a couple of times, so let's start talking about it. How does Wasabi better protect end user customers from ransomware? We talked about immutability, so important, but what other details can you give me?
First and foremost, Wasabi data centers are built, in SOC 2 compliant, ISO 27001 certified data centers, which means it's very difficult to even get in there to get to the equipment. You can't really do it. It can't be done. And then once the data is in the data center, well, we encrypt everything that comes to us. Hopefully, if you're doing it right, you're sending your data to us already encrypted. But when we receive it, we encrypt it again. And then when it's moving between storage arrays and compute, it's encrypted on the fly as well. So in the off chance that some of the data is exfiltrated from the Wasabi cloud, it's still going to be encrypted and people won't know what that data is. So there's SOC 2 and ISO 27001 compliance, which is critical. There is encryption on the fly and while at rest. There are, it's critically important that you as the MSP or the end user who has the control, the control panel to the storage unit uses multi-factor authentication. So a bad actor can get into your network and they can lurk around for days or weeks finding credentials. But if for off chance they get your root account user credentials to the storage arrays, well, if you have multi-factor authentication set up, odds are they're not going to get that multi-factor key that they would need in order to access it. So multi-factor authentication, role-based access, the encryption, ISO 27001 and SOC 2 compliance, and all of those rolled together, allow us as the cloud service provider to offer compliance for CJIS for criminal justice customers, HIPAA for hospitals and medical customers, FINRA for finance, FERPA for federal for education, families and education. The motion picture folks, Motion Picture Association have their own compliance. So all of those compliance standards, are met by Wasabi because of those specific security features that go above and beyond what you traditionally find in immutability, which I mentioned earlier.
And compliance is so important to talk about these days because, like you said, it's above and beyond for a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. So thanks for going into that. Let's go into segment 2 now, revenue opportunities with a kick. First question here, David, what makes Wasabi offerings attractive to MSP end user customers?
All right, so we simplify the storage process for people. People are not coming out of school these days with a storage administration degree. It doesn't happen. Storage has become to a point in life where it should be simple and easy to understand. You should be able to log in, do your storage, and log out and move on to the next opportunity. MSPs don't have to go into deep detail and having to learn, Wasabi cloud storage. It's super simple to understand. You could actually get up and running with a trial account in 5 minutes or less and start playing with it. It's that simple. So if I'm an MSP and or a channel partner and I am wondering who I want to work with or what I want to do, first thing I want to do is I want to find in this case, Wasabi being a smaller cloud as compared to AWS, Azure, or Google, you're going to get personalized treatment from us. You are probably far more important to us than you would be to AWS, Azure, or Google. You're just another name on a long list of people who, if you can get to your sales rep, or you can get to your marketing counterparts, or you can get to service support, you're probably just another name on a long list. That's not how Wasabi operates. We're designed to be channel-centric. We have channel programs. We have a fantastic portal, for learning and for training. We have deal registrations. We have a dedicated inside salesperson who is responsible for your account. And we have MDF that's designed for co-marketing. So we do a lot with our channel partners to help them be successful and to help them differentiate their cloud offerings from what you might get from one of the big box houses.
So David, it's just like you say, Wasabi is all about offering simplified, easily accessible storage solutions for end users. And of course, that sounds great from an end user perspective, but how can low-cost storage solutions increase managed service providers' margins?
So what happens now is economically speaking, when the price of something goes down, it's used a lot more. And so what happens if it costs you $23 a terabyte to store something per month versus $5 or $6 a terabyte per month to store something, you're going to store a lot more at a lower price and store it for a longer period of time. And so what happens is when the price goes down to a point where it's very easy to use and there's fewer hurdles to overcome, customers end up storing more for a longer period of time, and they look for more use cases. So it allows them to develop and deliver new applications or new services or new use cases, and become a less of a hurdle for many of our customers. And honestly too, like I said earlier, we're designed with the channel partnership in mind. If you are a Wasabi partner, you get margin on deals. And nice thing about Wasabi too is there's two different payment models. There's a pay-as-you-go to the traditional, every 30 days you get billed for whatever cloud usage you have. Or in our case, we have what we call reserved capacity storage, where you can buy storage upfront for a specific capacity, 25, 50, 100 terabytes, whatever you need for a specific amount of time. Pay for that up front and go away. So you have two options: pay monthly or pay annually or every 3 or 5 years. And so that makes it easier for the MSP to decide what they want to do as well. And then they can, depending on which model they use, there's different pricing discounts based on the structure. And then you can take those pricing discounts onto your customer and show them how you're saving them money and giving them options too. So very easy, very flexible payment methods or payment programs. And the nice thing about, again, too, I should have mentioned this earlier, is that in the case of Wasabi, we don't have those egress fees that I mentioned. AWS, Azure, Google have egress fees and retrieval fees and API request fees for gets and puts and inventory and on-net transfer charges and small object overhead. And so it becomes very difficult for you, like you said earlier, to predict what your costs are going to be. In the case of Wasabi, we don't have any of those things. So you know exactly what your price, what the amount of storage you need is. You'll know exactly what your price is going to be. If you said, David, I have 25 terabytes I want to store for 3 years, I'll give you a price and you don't have to worry about what that bill is going to be every month. It's really simple and easy to understand.
David, let's continue this financial conversation, this economic conversation, because what I know that many MSPs want to know is how quickly they'll see ROI when partnering with Wasabi. And is this something that you can show interested partners before they come on board to see how much money they may be leaving on the table right now?
Yes. All right. So I'm going to approach this from two different directions again. All right. First and foremost, let's talk about leaving money on the table. I've had plenty of conversations with MSPs who either left money on the table because they didn't realize they were doing it, or because they thought it would be too difficult for them to gather that money off the table. And for example, most MSPs I work with sell Office 365 licenses by the seat. Right. And so they'll sell O365. Maybe they won't sell backup for it, right? And because they may assume that the O365 is automatically backed up because it's sitting in Azure. That's not the case. I accidentally delete stuff all the time on my Office 365. And if I don't find it within that 15 to 30 day period, it's gone for good. There's accidental deletion is a big issue. So what you should do as the MSP, when you're talking to your customers who are using O365, and say, you know what, it's in your best interest and my best interest to make sure this is backed up. So let's talk about a backup solution. And then they may sell something like a Veeam VBO as a backup for O365. That's outstanding. So now they sell licenses for O365 and they sell VBO. Now they're making money. but they're not thinking about where they could be storing that VBO backup. If they were storing that VBO backup in Wasabi or Wasabi Cloud, now they would be able to make money on O365 licenses, the backup and the cloud storage in which holds the backup. So depending on exactly how much money you, you could leaving money on the table if you're not backing up, and then if you're not selling the storage for that backup. In the case of Wasabi, again, if you're selling a license for O365 on a 1 or 3 year license, and you're selling VBO, Veeam backup for Office 365 on a 1 or 3 year license, you should sell Wasabi on a 1 or 3 year license. Give the customer one invoice and say, this is your cost for O365 backed up for the next 3 years. And they'll sign off on it. So it depends. That's how people accidentally leave money on the table in that fashion. Now, how your time to market or your ability to get up and running fast, determines how much time, how much money is left on the table, for that period you have to get up and running. Now, Wasabi gets our MSP customers, our channel partners up and going. Like I said, it could be a matter of minutes or days, possibly weeks if you want to take your sweet time about it, but you can be up and running, within a week and be offering cloud storage services and generating revenue right out the bat. We don't have any pre-assessment requirements. There are no auditing of our MSP customers. There's no minimum commitments. There's no program fees. There are no mandatory certification requirements or training. There are no performance-based renewals every year, that we're going to come to see how you've done and if you generated enough money for us. All that stuff's out the window. With Wasabi, if you want to be a partner, you can. It's an easy click through program on our website that gives you access to be a Wasabi partner. You can get access to our partner portal. You get access to our training. You get access to our salespeople. You get options to do joint marketing. There's all kinds of things you can do. So the time it takes for you to spin up and become a Wasabi partner and start selling the Wasabi cloud storage is important here, because faster time to market with the storage means that you can get services to your customers quicker and start generating margin and revenue faster for yourself.
Excellent, David. Thanks so much for going over that. I think you brought up so many good points throughout this webinar so far about why Wasabi is different from cloud competitors in the same market. But let's ask one more time and really hammer it home. What sets Wasabi apart from competitors in the cloud market?
Price, performance, and protection. That's it. From a price perspective, we are simply 80% less expensive than using AWS standard. AWS S3 standard, $23 a terabyte per month, right? Wasabi, $5.99 a terabyte per month, list price. That's it. And so if you as an MSP are going to your customer and say, hey, listen, we're not going to buy this on-prem storage anymore. We're going to move your stuff to the cloud, and this is the price. And the customer sees that $23 a terabyte. They may balk at that. Go, whoa, that's still pretty pricey, for my 100 terabytes. But you go, I've got pricing at $6 a terabyte for you. That's our MSRP on our website, $5.99 terabyte. They're more likely going to be, okay, that's good. That's doable. Now talk to me about, is my data protected up there? There's a second P, or the third P, protection, right? So then we've got protection, which is going into immutable buckets. We have object lock that's supported by many of the backup vendors, in their applications, or if not, it's supported by Wasabi. And then we've got ISO 27001 and SOC 2 I talked about, which means that you, Mr. End user, as a hospital or as a medical office or as a law enforcement agency, we have HIPAA and CJIS and FINRA and FERPA, so your data is safe. And then lastly, performance. I hadn't mentioned this earlier either yet, but it's a good time to talk about performance. So if you are an MSP and you got to move from one job to another job, and every week you got to back up this office's data and this office's data, or maybe 3 times a week or once a month, how many times you do it, the faster you get that backup done with a smaller window, the less options there are for restarts and having to do it over again, the faster you can move on to your next customer. And, right. So time is of the essence. We all get paid by the hour. So therefore, the faster you can do the backup, the better it is. The faster you can get your backup back on-prem, if there's an issue, the better it is. So all of our data is kept hot in the Wasabi cloud. That's why we call ourselves hot cloud storage, because all of the data is milliseconds away. Yeah, if you need that data, you click the mouse or the backup application asks for it back. It's time to first byte, couple milliseconds, and then it starts downloading, and you can get it back fast. So hot cloud storage, high performance, low cost, better than you're going to get on any other clouds. And then, of course, protection. We've already talked about that. 3 Ps: price, performance, protection.
Awesome, David. That brings us into our final segment today. Put the heat back in your partnership. First question, David, how does Wasabi simplify the onboarding process for new partners to get them up and running and making money as quickly as possible?
Okay, so yep, absolutely. That's critically important. And I kind of mentioned earlier our click-through agreement. It's fast, it's easy, it's simple to do. Right? You click through and then you start. If I'm an MSP, first thing I want to do is I want to give it a trial test run and find out if it's for me. So maybe before the first step, it's let me give a try. Let me try this out, see how it works before I spend my time looking at it. So if you are interested and you want to get going, sign up for a free trial, 30-day free trial. We're not going to ask for credit card. You're not automatically enrolled in anything on that 31st day. You get the free trial, you play with it, you get a terabyte sandbox you want to use, and you move stuff in, move stuff out. Try it. Then you're going to get hooked and you go, okay, this is good. I'm going to start using it for my customers. And so there you have a click-through agreement, and you get up and click-through agreement. You talk to one of our channel sales reps and get up and running, and then you get access. Then you register for our award-winning portal, and then you can understand, what are the different use cases that my customers could use or I could use for Wasabi Cloud Storage, or what are my different resources, and how do I learn more about this, and how do I train my newer salespeople on how to use cloud storage? It's all up there. It's all free. There aren't any hidden fees. There aren't any cloud classes. There aren't any tests or recertifications that you have to go to. It's great if you want to come to us with a public reference. That's absolutely fantastic. But if you say, no, I don't want to, we're not going to force you to. Yeah, and that's not always the case with other cloud services. They'll say, well, you've got to meet these minimum requirements every year. You've got to bring us a public reference. You've got to bring us $2,000 to use our logo. You've got to bring us these things. Now, up and running real quick with Wasabi. Matter of minutes to get that trial run, and a matter of however long it takes the boss to approve the click-through agreement.
Well, David, you mentioned the award-winning portal that Wasabi has, so I think you're going to want to talk more about that now. This next question, what support does Wasabi offer partners?
All right, that's so really simple. The portal is fantastic. You can get all kinds of training there. You can get video training. You can get you can watch previously recorded webinars. If you are a channel partner or an MSP that works with a certain application that you like for backup or archive, Comprise is fantastic, data management software. I mentioned Veeam before, but if you're a Commvault or if you're Veritas focused and you want to learn, well, how does my Veritas net backup work with Wasabi? It's in the portal, or it's in our knowledge base. You can type in and learn anything you want about the 350 different applications that work with Wasabi there. So at your own pace, at your leisure, is totally available. We have campaigns in a box. If you want to do an email that we can co-brand with our partners. So they want to do an email campaign, or they want to do something fun and exciting. Odds are it's already pre-developed, sitting in a box, waiting for you, not a physical box, but you know what I mean. It's sitting online waiting for you to add your name and logo to, and do all kinds of fun things. If you want to do webinars or conferences with us, we've got the team for that. If you want to do something jointly with the MDF fund, you can do that. So there's all kinds of resources available. There's deal registration for our partners. If you have a deal, it's your customer. You're concerned, well, if I take this to Wasabi, one, are they going to take it direct on me? Won't happen. Two, well, if I take it to Wasabi, are they going to tell another partner about it? No, if your deal, you bring it to us, deal registration, it's yours. There's all kinds of information about deal registration there. And, we've got technical training for folks who want to go a little bit deeper. And we've got sales and marketing training for people who want to, find out, how to overcome objections and to position and message the product right. So we've got the resources for our partners.
David, that brings us to the end of our webinar today. Thank you so much for sharing how channel providers can grow their businesses with Wasabi as partners. And thank you at home for joining our webinar. Once again, I'm Katie Bavoso. Thanks for watching.